Welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast. This is Renee Edwards, Deputy Athletic Director, Senior Woman Administrator at Hampton University. Leadership is fluid. It's constant. It's internal. It's growth. One of the best opportunities that I had was to be able to participate in the NCAA Pathways program. It was game-changing and transformational in how I looked at myself, looked at characteristics of a leader, and taking a deep dive into what it really takes to transform not only yourself, but also lead a department. The sessions is a year-long process where you not only meet at the NCAA national office, but also along with gaining a mentor that's an athletic director and also a president of a university. But one of the most important parts is the cohort that you're with. You're learning from others during the process. So again, the NCAA Pathways program has been transformational in my development and able to help me manage up as well as manage down in trying to create the leaders and move the athletic department forward. Enjoy the episode.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 1Q Leadership. Our guest today is Darnell Smith. Darnell is the Director of Intercollegiate Athletics and Recreational Sports at Texas A&M University, San Antonio. Greetings, Darnell. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me here today.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to have you on. You've been in the industry for roughly 16 years, right? And been there 3.5 years there at Texas A&M University, San Antonio. And the reason why I wanted to have you on is because essentially you talk about starting a varsity athletics program at a university. And that's what you are doing there at Texas A&M San Antonio.
Yeah.
Tell me about being recruited to that job and coming at it with the mindset of, you know what? I want to plant the seeds, sow the seeds, and grow this athletic and sports here at Texas A&M University, San Antonio.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, San Antonio is my home. My dad was in the military. We were stationed right there at Lackland Air Force Base, and it was an opportunity for me to come back home. I feel like the good Lord put it on me for me to look at the opportunity and then pursue it. I knew that A&M San Antonio existed. At the time, when I initially saw the school, I didn't know that they had sports. And I said, look, at some point they're going to add sports, and I'm going to be the guy to lead it.
Wow.
So when they eventually posted the job, I said to myself, this is the time. Matter of fact, I had another opportunity to serve as athletic director. And without even knowing what happened at A&M San Antonio, I turned that opportunity down because I wanted to pursue the one at A&M San Antonio. And when they had a consultant, they also had a lot of sitting ADs that were vying for the job. I said, well, look, no matter what, I'm very passionate about this job, and I wanted to be in the role. So I just called out all the stops, called my mentors, strategically knowing that they were going to be in the NAIA. I reached out to my colleagues out in the NAIA, reached out to some commissioners. I was trying to just make sure that my name was in the mix as much as possible. And lo and behold, I mean, I submitted my application. The job was posted. I submitted the very same day, if not the very next day, and the process just took place. It was a very quick search. But in the end, I was the one who was able to get the job, and I'm just very, very thankful. I mean, it was a grind, a lot of worrying, but again, I just had my full faith in the good Lord above, and it just worked out for me.
Yeah, what's interesting is you said you told yourself early on that at some point they're going to start a sports program. If you're going to be a college campus, you might as well have sports, right? And you said, I'm going to get that job. That's going to be you, right? Come to fruition, right? Say it, manifest it. Be impeccable with your words. I appreciate that a lot. Talk to me about that, right? So you come in, you know they want to start sports. So some of the groundwork has been done or was done for them to say, this is what we want to do.
Right.
So now you got to come in and say, okay, here's what we want to do, and here's how we want to do it. So tell me about that aspect of how much work was done in terms of starting the programs, and how much did you have to bring to the table in terms of your thought after you went in and assessed the situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So going into the situation, we already had the 4 sports that we currently have identified. And that's men's, women's soccer, or softball, and men's golf. So for me, when I came into the role, it was, hey, Darnell, we need you to start the programs come that fall of 2020. So for me, I had to create the vision. I had to hire the people. At one point, I was the athletic department, and the athletic department was me. The only thing that we was assured was that, look, we have the sports. There's support from it for the sports from the student athletes. from the students, and from the campus and from the community. There was a budget that was given to me, and that budget was a $10 semester credit hour fee. So these are the things that were in place. But for me, I had to bring it all to fruition. I had to create the vision. I had to hire the coaches. I hired the staff. I hired my athletic trainer. I had to find the facilities. I had to, as I look at it as an artist, I had a blank canvas, and I had to paint a masterpiece. And that's what I've done so far. So the sports I haven't added, but I put the budget towards each sport. I've got us successfully into the NAIA to become active members, making sure that our policies and procedures are up to date, making sure that we're compliant with Title IX, making sure that the campus, from a marketing standpoint, the community, everyone knows that we exist. We're getting our name out there, fundraising. So everything else you could possibly think of that happens from a AD perspective or just really in athletics came afterwards.
Did they have to compete in a club type situation for a year or two, or how did that process work in terms of the 4 sports?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the 4 sports, they were intercollegiate. We're members of the Red River Athletic Conference, part of the NAIA. And we were associate members to begin with, which means that we could play, we could compete, but we just can't compete for postseason. And there are some other awards that we were not eligible for, but we were on the scene. And look, it's an opportunity to allow for your institution to get acclimated to the NAIA and make sure that you're acclimated to the rules and regulations. So when we start off associate member status, we do have club sports on my campus, and I oversee the recreational side of things as well. Like we have esports, and we have competitive cheer, dancing, and so forth. When it comes to recruitment, that's where the crossover may have come over at least from the initial stages, like with soccer. But yeah, I mean, as far as like with the other offerings, that's about it.
That's how it worked. So there was no athletics department before.
Correct.
So this is an interesting dynamic. Creating an athletic department, 4 teams written down on paper, right? So now you're not talking about just coming in and changing a culture. We're really talking about creating a culture, right?
Right.
When it was just you, okay, now we got one more person.
Yeah.
Okay, now there could be a culture because now it's more than just me, right? Now we got to figure out what language we speak, right? And now we got to figure out what is success and how we define success. Tell me about that aspect of putting those pieces together step by step, from hiring someone to having a team to, starting during the pandemic year to now you're like, okay, so are we congealing as a culture on campus, making sure we fit the values and the mission of the university?
Right. So with the culture, it's definitely big with me and with the campus. A lot of things that I've learned from like my time in the NCAA leadership development programs, going through the NCAA pathway program, the Achievement Communication Success program, the MOA programs, all you could think of, has really helped shape my leadership style and really my approach. I believe that leaders are readers, and readers are leaders.
Okay.
And so I've read a lot of books. So John C. Maxwell, Stephen Covey, all these different thought leaders that are out there. So I took a collective approach. The Culture Code, for example, that book, and whenever I try to approach my team, I look at, are they a good fit? Do they mesh well with my values? And my guiding pole or my guiding compass at A&M-San Antonio is, what's the strategic plan with my campus? And the values and the goals that we have to meet there, and do they align with that? Because that's where my priorities are. And so, once I got that first person, which was my coach, then I added the next one, which is another coach. And then I added a third one. So I had my coaches on board,
Yeah.
and I had to explain to them we didn't have any facilities. We didn't have anything other than a vision. So establishing for me, I had to establish that vision to let them know, like, this is where we're going to go.
Yeah.
And this is how we're going to get there. And the campus had to believe in it too. Since day one with my press conference, all the while I've always figured myself to be a visionary, to be able to see or be a forward thinker. And I credit that to all the development courses and all the things from that I've learned over the years from my mentors, from NCAA, here from the NAIA, and some of the things there. But I will say, going into the fall 20, I had everyone except for one position, and that was men's soccer. When the pandemic hit and it hit our campus, as far as like institutions shutting down, I was not able to hire my full team, and I had to wait to hire my men's soccer coach. So therefore, going into the fall, when we shut down, everything shut down, I was not able to start soccer until the fall of 21 because of the delay. But then with spring sports, softball, men's golf, we started in the spring of 21. So as far as like with the relationship back to campus, I mean, in building that culture, everyone wants this and everyone's enthusiastic about it. Jaguar pride, as we like to say. But how we got there is just from really working with the president, working with the other campus leaders, and really leaning on my experiences from the different development courses and things I've been able to read and just be able to take up on over the years.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I imagine that those coaches wear multiple hats when you talk about bringing people on campus. Tell me about how coaches tend to want to excel at what they do, right? And then sometimes coaches want to excel at the coaching part, but the rest of it is like, bro, I'm just trying to just compete, right? So, and I know you expect everything out of them, right? So tell me about that aspect of having people come on and it's like, look, we're all things athletics, all of us. We're the crew.
Right.
So let's make this happen. Tell me about that aspect of the culture and getting people on board to those type of expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. The culture I try to set is I try to lead by example, right? So my time in Division II, I've learned how to roll up my sleeves and just get the job done. The type of coaches, knowing that within NAIA is very similar. We all got to roll up our sleeves to be able to get the job done. So whenever I start to look at coaches or whenever I recruit them and as I was putting the team together, they have to have the same passion for the student-athlete experience. And they have to have the same passion for being able to contribute towards that student-athlete experience. Our coaches had to really help each other out during the time. I mean, we're all we got, as we like to say. They had to take on different roles on the campus as well. When there was no sports, we had to figure out, well, where do they go? How do they contribute and help back to the campus? But that's all part of what I try to say. I'm not asking them to do anything different than what I would do.
Yeah.
And getting out to the community, fundraising, being able to help with the sponsorships, but ultimately making sure that you could get those students in and show them the experience, but being able to contribute towards that at the end.
Yeah, which is of the utmost importance. You mentioned about things that you've learned through various professional development programs you've been in, various books, relationships, mentors, people that have helped you along the way, just things that you learned, which you're like applying everything right now, I imagine, over the last 3.5 years. I think you went through one of the NCAA leadership development programs, right? Talk to me a little bit about that and how you're applying some of what you learned there now and what you're doing.
Look,
Texas A&M San Antonio.
I'm very grateful for the NCAA, the whole leadership development team, and those that were a part of it when I was going through it in my early administrative days, and then those that are part of it even now. So I wanted to get involved as much as I could. I wanted to become an athletic director, and I started off like with MOA, for example, and did the Division II Governance Academy.
Yeah.
I understood how these things work, the governing structure, the policies, and the committees, and the importance of representing on those committees. Leadership, the NCAA, I've done the Leadership Institute, where I consider them like brothers and sisters even to this day. And we went through and we understood how to work with each other, how to really appreciate each other's backgrounds, and but really push forward. But also being able to give back, to be able to help the next generation. So we learned a great deal about being leader, but understanding our why and then pursuing our passion through our why. I've done the effective facilitation workshop with the NCAA, learn how to get out there and now gear it towards the student-athlete experience, how to provide or at least facilitate these conversations that may be a little bit more difficult or challenging. I was a participant in that as well. I've also served on, what was it? No, yeah, the Achieving Communication Success Workshop, where now you get in front of the media, you're being taped, and everything is being scrutinized. So I could go on and on and on, but I mean, these programs really helped define my leadership, and I took very aspects from it. And as far as like with the mentors, I met a lot of my mentors through these leadership developments. I mean, I'll name just a couple. I can't name all, but
no
for example, Tim Duncan has been fantastic, and Marcus Manning was another one of my mentors. China Jude, another one of my mentors. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on, but these individuals sought enough to be able to help me during the process, to be able to ascend to the chair and just really instill a lot of their faith and hope and trust in me.
I'll ask you a couple questions here, and then we'll wrap specifically about that one. Professional development to coaches sometimes, and since I've worked with coaches and I worked with administrators, a lot of times the administrators think professional development with coaches is just sending them to their respective conventions, right? Soccer coaches convention, American football coaches convention, whatever. I tend to think it's a little more than that, right? You do that, but there's probably some touch points and engagement from the leader in terms of developing the people who work on staff. Tell me about that for your staff, especially at a school where they're wearing multiple hats within the athletics department, in addition to being the teachers to the student athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. So my coaches, the majority of them have a background in teaching. So they understand how to deliver messages and or convey those things to their programs.
Okay.
I take an approach about leadership. We've done what we like to call the strength-based finders, where you have to determine what your top 5 or top 10 strengths are. Yeah. Every time I've done it, I've been a learner. It's just, and then everything else has just kind of been in the air, strategic or whatnot. But with the coaches, I expect the same thing. So during our retreats or every year, we like to look at where we're at from a leadership standpoint. We've done the strength-based finders with the programs as well as with recreational sports. That way we understand where do we fall in these categories so we can be more strategic with how we work with each other. Another thing I'm going to try to do in the future is bring in the DISC analysis to kind of see if they're D's, I's, S, or C's. I've been trained enough in that to be able to apply my own perspective, but I would probably be short-sighted until we actually got the results.
Get a formal assessment.
Absolutely. And also, I'm thinking about doing the Myers-Briggs.
Okay.
So the Myers-Briggs or the MBTI, be able to determine are they introvert, extrovert, are they intuitive, are they sensing, are they judging, or feeling, are they perceiving,
it's
or they.
Fun. It sounds like you want to do everything, so you have all the information about your staff, so that you can lead them in the right direction. How to effectively.
It's like, over a period of time, and we are going to do it all.
Yeah.
But that's just what it's about. I don't want to be stagnant. I want to make learning and education fun and exciting, because what we're doing is pretty challenging.
Yeah.
We're all collectively building this athletics department from scratch. We're moving forward. We're transforming lives. We're putting opportunities in the hands of parents and students to be able to do something that has never been done before, and that's to be able to take A&M-San Antonio to newer heights. So to do that, we have to have a good level head. We have to have fun. When you asked about the culture, I want to make sure we have fun too.
Yeah.
So I may come out with all the dad jokes or bad puns.
All right.
They say, they laugh, but they may say it's kind of bad or not. But we're going to have a culture where we're going to have a lot of fun, but we're also going to be serious about growth. And with the Myers-Briggs, all these things that I've done personally has helped me. And if it's helped me, I believe it can help others like my coaches.
Okay. Excellent, man. I think what you've done there is excellent and will continue to be excellent. You talk about 3.5 years. Well, we haven't even had a whole, eligibility class go through and graduate, right? So,
right. Still waiting on that cohort.
Right. It can only get better, right?
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you joining us here on the One Question Leadership Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. And, you know, it's incredible. You're doing incredible things yourself. And I just appreciate you and for having this time with me.
Yes, sir. That was Darnell Smith. Darnell is the Director of Intercollegiate Athletics and Recreational Sports at Texas A&M University, San Antonio. And of course, I am Ty Brown with one question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.